My name is Detective Phillip Rigdell, and I'm with the Boone County Sheriff's Department, and I'm very thankful to be here today. I think that if we would have had this exact organization and this exact scenario 3 years or even 2 years ago, we might not even have a third of the people here. I think with the amount of people here, it is telling that the community sees this epidemic as something way more serious than what it was perceived even a year ago. And I remember sitting in a meeting that I attend generally about once a month, and a couple years ago, and I said, I believe that the churches need to be involved when we discuss treatment. For a lot of different reasons, but because churches like this one, like the one that I grew up in, are so community-based, and so many people see each other on a weekly basis through good and bad. And we've heard examples of young people growing up in churches but still losing their way and then resorting back to the church to find their way again is very critical in trying to grab a hold of this epidemic. And when I'm off duty and I'm not working, I try to be as normal as anybody else. But with what this job and the things that we've seen over the years tell us is you can't always act that way. And I'll share a quick story with you. Me and my wife were eating a couple months ago at a local restaurant in northern Kentucky, and the hostess was so intoxicated on heroin she couldn't even keep her head up. And I was watching her, and she would be at the hostess counter, then she would drift towards the back where the bathrooms were. And I told my wife, I said, I think she's probably going to go back to the bathroom and use. And all I could think about at that very moment was not the fact that she was intoxicated in her work, because unfortunately that happens every single day. What I was concerned about was it was a Friday night at this particular restaurant, and it was a female hostess, and it wouldn't have been somebody like me if she would have overdosed in the bathroom and would have found her. It could have been a mother, a young girl, an even younger preteen, somebody going in there that should not see that type of thing. Things that we're accustomed to seeing and things that we know how to deal with. And that is one of many examples that I think this epidemic has become a burden on our society. And I think that that's an important realization that even if you're not addicted, know somebody who's addicted, or dealing with the addiction personally within your own family, the effects that it is having on everyday life and society with health and hygiene, I think, are critical and very, very important. I can honestly say that if it were my child and they walked into a bathroom and saw that scenario as I just described, I would be very upset. And I was discussing it with a friend of mine, and the friend told me, he's like, well, why do you really care? She's not handling your food. She's just the hostess. And I think that it's important on a lighter side to understand that in law enforcement, we care a lot about who handles our food. And we want to make sure that that hostess is a hostess and she's not a waitress or a cook or anything like that, because, you know, when you think as a police officer, sometimes, you know, that old urban legend sometimes comes true. And in all seriousness, though, I told him it is important. It is important to us. And briefly, I'll discuss a solution, because I do believe in law enforcement that there is a gap that is still between treatment and the criminal justice system. And I think that we sometimes see things differently. We don't see things eye to eye. But I also believe that there are some mischaracterizations between the lock them up and throw away the key, or don't charge them and put them in rehab. I think that those are two polar opposite ideas that aren't correct when you characterize us working together. And one of the quick, and I will say very rough drafts of a solution that I have thought of, and I've thought long and hard about this for many years, because I, like so many people, don't want to deal with the addiction anymore because it's dangerous for us. but it's also very frustrating to continue to go to places that have been robbed, burglarized, thefts, child endangerment, things of that nature, and to see this pattern with the same people over and over and over again. So briefly, I will explain a solution that I've come up with, and hopefully some people on the panel will either like it, not like it, or it could be at least a thought. And when somebody's arrested for a felony, especially a felony, they're taken to jail and they see pretrial services, a pretrial officer. Within pretrial, they interview that defendant for a checklist of things to determine a bond. When a bond is determined, then that person either meets the bond or doesn't meet the bond, and they go through the criminal justice process. Well, the pretrial services officer essentially assesses the defendant with a variety of questions. So I got to thinking, and I thought, why not mirror that idea inside of jails with we'll call it a treatment assessment officer. And they will work directly with assessing a person who's been brought into jail for a crime that is either related to drug addiction or directly related to drug addiction, meaning possession. And they are either a candidate for treatment or they're not a candidate for treatment. And I want to be clear about something when I say candidate or not candidate. It is my belief, and some of you may disagree with me, that we can't save everybody, okay? And there's been a lot of time and money wasted on people who do not want to be saved. And I can cite you personal examples that I know. And so if they are a candidate for treatment, then they can either remain incarcerated in jail or wait on a bed, or given specific circumstances be released to report to any one given treatment facility. They can also be ranked, just like in pretrial, with high risk, low risk, on how to effectively treat them. And it would not be somebody like me assessing these people. It would be somebody within the profession that you're putting into the jails. And I think that one of the most critical parts of this is that what frustrates us in law enforcement is we will see somebody when they are at their worst, when they're high, or when they know their freedom is about to be taken away. And you will see some very, very raw emotions. And that is critical when assessing somebody, because I've seen those same people in different circumstances, and I'm sure some of you could attest to this, that manipulation kicks in and they completely do a 180 to try to find themselves in the best situation that they think they need for themselves. So if we can accurately assess these people when they come in, then I think that could be a good gap to bridge between treatment and the criminal justice system to effectively get them the help that they need, but also not allow resources to be wasted on those who do not want that help. Lastly, I'll say this. The two testimonies that we heard earlier, Donna and Tracy, I believe, that is what we want to see in law enforcement. We understand that people are going to lose their way, but we want people to find their way, and we want people to kick the addiction. Statistics are not in your favor, okay? If you look at the statistics, you will see that they are a rarity when it comes to heroin addiction. But I think that the power of what they found in the church and the way that they've been able to move on with their lives is a testament of why we need to support treatment facilities that are faith-based within our communities, not just here in Highland Heights, but in Boone County, Kenton County, Campbell County, south and north, because they can really be effective. And I thank you for the opportunity to be here, and it was an honor.